After 30 years of love, my daughter-in-law exposed a hidden truth that forever changed our lives. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden light across Martha's backyard, she took a moment to savor the smell of sizzling burgers mingling with the sweet aroma of cherry pie cooling on the table. Laughter filled the air, a melody that warmed her heart. Her family gathered around under twinkling fairy lights. It was supposed to be one of those perfect summer evenings, but the moment Sarah spoke, that serenity shattered like glass. You know, my parents were so protective. I guess it came from growing up in a fancy neighborhood. Martha felt a jolt, her smile frozen on her face. Fancy? Protective? She shifted in her seat, the plastic lawn chair creaking beneath her. She had always embraced Sarah's family, loved her for the way she looked at Jake, her son. But those words hung like a heavy cloud, casting a shadow over the night. A hidden truth that Sarah had grown up surrounded by privilege sliced through Martha. Did this mean their lives were not the same? Did Martha's hard work, her sacrifices, mean nothing in the face of wealth? The grill crackled as Jake flipped the burgers, chatting away, unaware of the storm brewing under the surface. Martha's mind raced. She thought of her own childhood, filled with modesty, values, and dignity. Did Sarah's finances make her better than Martha? Did that wall between them, built of economic divides, still exist after all these years? A tightness clutched at her chest, and suddenly the room grew too quiet. She could feel the tension coiling in the air, almost tangible. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. At that moment, Martha recalled her late husband's gentle words of advice on love and acceptance. Wasn't he family about embracing each other's quirks and differences? She swallowed hard, looking at Jake's face for guidance. Instead of the joyful glint she usually admired, there was a flicker of worry, a shadow of hurt. Sarah's expression clouded over, uncertainty creasing her brow as she caught the weight of Martha's silence. It was as if their bond hung in the balance, teetering on the edge. Sometimes I wonder if they look down on us. Martha's voice cracked as she whispered that secret, shame, an emotion charging through her like electricity. The tension escalated, whispers of agreement mingled with anxious glances. Would this barbecue end in laughter or heartbreak? As the night air grew heavy, sparks from the grill danced into the sky, mirroring the tumultuous feelings colliding within her. Could love withstand this new unseen divide? As she gazed at her family, all she could do was wonder what this revelation meant. Could they weather this storm together, or would it tear them apart? The question loomed unbidden in the air, an unanswered mystery hanging like the soft, summertime breeze. The silence that followed Martha's words was deafening. It felt as if time had stopped. The flame from the grill flickered ominously, casting erratic shadows that danced across faces once filled with laughter. Martha could see the worry lines deepen on Jake's forehead, a reflection of an unspoken fear that maybe he had been blinded by love, too. There was an awkward shuffle among the guests. A few fidgeted with their drinks, a couple exchanged glances filled with uncertainty. Sarah's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and hurt washing over her features. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. A pleasant evening, family bonding over food and stories, now threatened to devolve into something far more complex. Mom, what do you mean? Jake finally spoke, his voice trembling slightly. It was the voice of a son caught between two worlds, desperate to bridge the gap but unsure how to do it. You know we're all family here, right? Sarah's breath hitched. I never meant to imply anything negative. I was just sharing a part of my life. Her tone was soft yet laced with a hint of defensiveness. Martha could see the vulnerability etched on her daughter-in-law's face, a glimpse into the troubled waters that lay beneath the surface of privilege she had grown up with. Martha's heart ached. It was painful to see Sarah wrestle with her own insecurity, just as Martha struggled with her feelings. I know you didn't mean it that way, Sarah. She paused, gathering her thoughts as she realized this was more about her than about Sarah. I guess I just don't want to feel less than anyone else for living a different life. Tears threatened to spill from Sarah's eyes, and Martha's protective instinct kicked in. Here they were, a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, both surrounded by family yet feeling alone in their fight. We've built our lives on love and understanding, but it seems I'm struggling to extend that to our differences. Mom, wealth doesn't change who you are, Jake interrupted, looking back and forth between them. It's love, kindness, and how we treat each other that define us. The weight of his words hung in the air, fragile yet powerful. Suddenly, the fairy lights above seemed brighter, as if illuminating a path they could take together. Maybe, Martha whispered, feeling a flicker of hope in the pit of her stomach. Maybe I've held on to this idea for too long. I just want us to feel equal. Somewhere, hidden laughter began to bubble back to life. A cousin trying to break the tension with a joke that fell flat but still brought a few half-hearted chuckles. Jake reached for Sarah's hand, knotting their fingers together with purpose. We just need to talk more, to be honest with ourselves and each other, he said, his voice steady. Martha felt a tiny ember of resolve spark within her heart. Could they really navigate through all this? Could they learn to embrace their differences instead of letting them drive a wedge between them? But just as the atmosphere began to lighten, Martha's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, glancing at the screen. It was a message from her sister. I need you to call me, it read, followed by a string of urgent emojis. Suddenly, her world tilted again on its axis. The evening's cozy warmth contrasted sharply with the realization that there were more hidden truths waiting to surface. Martha took a deep breath, looking from her family to her phone, realizing the night was far from over. Let us really talk, she said, her voice steady as she made a decision. But what other truths were lurking out there, waiting to forever shift the contours of their lives? Martha's heart raced as she stared at the bright screen, the warm glow of the family gathering fading into a distant memory. The laughter that had filled the air suddenly felt hollow, just background noise to the knot growing tighter in her stomach. Her sister's words were like a storm cloud on the horizon, dark and intimidating. Mom? Jake's voice brought her back, his brow still furrowed with concern. Is everything okay? Yeah, I need to call my sister. It's important, she said, trying to sound casual, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. She stepped aside, needing a moment to gather herself away from the family, away from the piercing gaze of Sarah, who seemed to read her like an open book. As she stepped onto the porch, the cool evening air rushed against her skin. The scent of grilled meat and the laughter from within faded farther away, leaving her with nothing but the weight of potential revelations. She dialed her sister, feeling another wave of anxiety rise as each ring echoed into the void. Mary, she said when her sister finally picked up. Martha, I didn't think you'd answer. I wasn't sure how to say this. The frantic tone in Mary's voice sent shivers down Martha's spine. What is it? Martha, it's about Dad. Her sister paused, and in that silence tension thickened. He's been hiding something. Something big. I wasn't going to say anything, but you need to know. Martha felt her heart drop. What do you mean? Is he sick? What happened? Her thoughts raced, weaving through the countless memories of her father, his laughter and moments of wisdom. No, it's worse, Mary stammered. I just found out he's not who we think he is. None of us are. Martha struggled to catch her breath. What are you saying? Her voice came out sharper than intended. Dad had a different life before he met Mom, a whole other family. The truth is, we have half-siblings out there. Martha's fingers trembled as she held the phone, chaos swirling in her mind. The laughter from the party felt like a cruel joke now. Was this the hidden truth she was supposed to confront? Had her life built on love and unity been a facade all along? Are you sure? She managed to ask, disbelief creeping in. I have proof. You need to come to the house. We need to discuss this together. Martha hung up, her chest tight. She stared out at the yard, the fairy lights twinkling like stars in a darkening sky, blurring with tears she didn't want to shed. She leaned against the doorframe, hearing the muffled sounds of her family inside, laughing, loving, unaware of the storm brewing just outside. How could she tell them? How could she shatter the fragile peace they'd just started to build together? Taking a deep breath, she wiped her eyes and walked back inside, holding her head high even as her heart felt heavy. Hey everyone, she called, her voice trembling slightly. I need to talk. Everyone's gaze shifted to her, expressions shifting from curiosity to concern. Each face was a blend of warmth and worry, and with a shaky breath, Martha realized this wasn't just about her anymore. The hidden truth was a family matter now, and they would all have to face it together. As she stood there, ready to plunge headfirst into this new reality, she felt a strange sense of solidarity with her daughter-in-law. They might be different, but they were both grappling with unknowns, and the evening's journey had only just begun. What if this is only the beginning? Jake whispered, catching her eye as he sensed the shift in the air. Martha couldn't help but wonder. What other hidden truths lay ahead, waiting to unravel everything they thought they knew? Martha glanced around the room, consumed by the warmth that was suddenly tinged with uncertainty. Every smile seemed to fade to gray. Every cheerful voice felt muted, as if the world had shifted around her. This wasn't just a family gathering anymore. It was a stage set for a disaster she had never anticipated. "Mom, are you okay?" Jake's voice broke through her chaotic thoughts. The concern in his eyes felt like a lifeline, but she was terrified of what it meant for them. "I just need a moment," she managed to say, her throat tightening as she fought back tears. She took a deep breath, trying to muster the courage to speak. "I found out something important." "About Dad?" Sarah asked, her voice laced with care and curiosity. Martha's heart pounded. The truth was heavy like a brick sitting in her chest. "Yes, it is about Dad. And it's complicated." Silence fell over the room. Everyone turned their full attention to her, faces now masks of worry. The flickering candlelight cast shadows around the room, accentuating the seriousness of the moment. There seemed no easy way to begin. "Mary called me," she continued, her voice shaking. She said Dad is not who we think he is. We may have siblings we never knew about." Shocked gasps echoed throughout the room. Martha watched as her family processed her words, their thoughts racing like hers had moments ago. Jake looked visibly taken aback. Sarah's mouth fell open in disbelief, and the others exchanged glances filled with confusion. "Is this some kind of joke?" Jake said, the disbelief evident in his voice. "No, it's not a joke. I wish it were." Attention filled the air, each moment stretching like an elastic band ready to snap. Martha could sense the range of emotions bubbling just beneath the surface. Anger, pain, and above all fear. Would this fracture their family? Was their love strong enough to withstand this revelation? "What do you mean, siblings?" Sarah finally asked, her voice a mixture of concern and desperation. "How is that possible?" Martha took another deep breath, remembering what Mary had told her. Before he met Mom, he had another family. A life we didn't know about, people we've never met. She paused, feeling the weight of those words linger in the air. "We have to talk about this. We need to understand what it means for us." As the reality of what she had revealed began to sink in, Jake moved closer, reaching for her hand. Their connection grounded her, a reminder that while the foundation of their family felt shaky, their love remained intact. "I think we all deserve to know the truth," Jake said, standing tall as he faced the family. "Even if it's painful, we can face this together." His bravery brought another wave of emotion crashing over Martha. Her heart swelled with pride, but she also felt the weight of responsibility. Was she asking them to carry a burden they weren't ready for? "I'll get the proof," she finally said, determination taking hold. "Mary said she found it. I'll bring it here, and then we can decide how to move forward." As she turned to leave, the question still hung in the air, unspoken and heavy. What would they find when she uncovered the truth? And would the ties that held them strong remain unbroken in the face of what lay ahead? Martha's insides churned with uncertainty, knowing that the path forward was dark and unclear. But she was resolute. This family would face it together. She just hoped the love they had built over the years would be enough. Little did she know, the truth they were about to face would force them all to redefine what family meant. Would they weather the storm or be swept away? Martha walked briskly towards the door, her heart racing with every step. The living room sounds faded behind her, replaced by the quickening thump of her pulse. She could feel the weight of her family's gazes, each one heavy with questions she was still struggling to process herself. Confusion swirled in her mind while she fumbled for her keys, the metal cool against her clammy palm. As she reached the car, she paused for a moment, drawing in a shaky breath. The evening air felt thick, almost suffocating. What was she about to unveil? With every passing second, the urgency to return with answers screamed in her mind. She drove in silence, thoughts colliding like a chaotic storm. Images of her father danced in her mind, his laughter, His stories, the way he held them all together. Was it possible he had built a life before this one? And what would it mean for Jake and Sarah? Would they see their father the same way again after learning this hidden chapter of his life? Arriving at Mary's house, she took a moment to steady herself, looking in the mirror. She didn't want to show fear. She had to be strong. Stepping out of the car, she pushed her doubts aside and knocked on the door. Mary opened it almost immediately, her face pale but resolute. "Martha," she said softly, as if sensing the weight of the moment. Without waiting for an invitation, Mary turned and led Martha to the living room, filled with memories that now seemed tainted. Pictures of their childhood hung on the walls, but tonight they felt like reminders of the truth yet to be revealed. "Thank you for coming," Mary said, her voice tinged with urgency. "I know this is a lot to take in." "I hardly know what to think," Martha replied, her voice quiet yet firm. "I just need to see the proof. We can't face this without understanding what we're dealing with." Mary nodded and brought out a box from beneath the coffee table. Martha's heart sank as she contemplated what secrets it might hold. Mary opened it, revealing a series of documents, photographs, and letters that were far from ordinary. The weight of unknown lives hung heavy in the air. "Look at this," Mary said, pulling out a faded photograph of a smiling family. That's Greg with his first wife and their children. Martha felt a knot tighten in her stomach. There was a familiarity in the way they smiled, the curl of their hair, the shape of their faces. "I can't believe this," she whispered, tears welling up. It felt surreal, as if she was watching someone else's life unfold. "There's more," Mary said, her voice trembling slightly. "I've reached out to some of them. They want to meet. They need to know their father's story just like you do." "Meet?" The word hung heavily on Martha's tongue. It felt like a betrayal of their own family. Yet she realized it might also open the door to healing. "How do I even begin to explain this to Jake and Sarah?" she asked, her heart aching at the thought of unraveling their father's past. Mary placed a hand on Martha's arm, grounding her. "You won't be doing this alone. You're a family. Families discuss things together, even the hard truths." The easy entanglements of family began to feel like a puzzle, pieces slowly shifting as new truths disrupted their familiar image. Would these revelations bind them closer, or would they pull them apart? As Martha absorbed the magnitude of what lay before her, one thought echoed painfully inside her. How do you reconcile a life built on secrets? She looked into Mary's eyes, determination flooding her heart. "We need to know the truth together. All of us." But just as those words left her mouth, a feeling of dread washed over her. Could their family truly withstand what was coming? In the fragile silence that followed, Martha understood that they stood on the edge of a precipice, staring down into an abyss of uncertainty. Will they leap into the unknown or find a way to navigate it together? She felt the tremors of fear and hope intertwining. One thing was certain: everything was about to change. What awaited them might redefine who they were as a family. And just like that, she knew they had to talk, but where would the conversation take them? The air was thick with unspoken fears as Martha sat down on the worn couch, the box of secrets resting heavily on the coffee table between her and Mary. The flickering light of the lamp cast shadows that seemed to dance around the room, reminiscent of the family gatherings that once filled this space with laughter. Now it felt like a waiting room for revelation she wasn't sure she was ready to face. Mary took a deep breath and reached for the first letter, her fingers trembling slightly. "This was written shortly before Greg left his first wife," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He loved them fiercely, but, well, you know how life can change in an instant." Martha leaned forward, her heart pounding. This was her father they were talking about. What did he say? Mary unfolded the letter, her eyes scanning the words. "He talks about feeling trapped, like he was living someone else's life. He mentions longing for freedom, for a fresh start." It's painful to read. A lump formed in Martha's throat. She never imagined her father felt that way. Did he regret it? The question hung in the air, filled with unasked hopes and fears. Mary looked up, her expression pained. It's hard to tell. There's love in those words, but there's also a deep sadness. She hesitated, then continued with a trembling voice. He eventually decided to leave. Not just his wife, but everything: friends, memories. It was like he erased a part of his life. Martha closed her eyes, envisioning the family she never knew. A family that existed outside of the memories of birthday parties and holiday dinners. A wave of emotion surged through her. Did anyone know? Did he explain why to anyone? Mary shook her head. I think he hoped to bury it all. But there's a line here. He seemed to be trying to protect you all. Protect us? The word felt like a punch in the gut. Is this what protection looks like? Lies? Secrets? Mary lowered her gaze, guilt washing over her. It was a different time. People did strange things in the name of family. Martha inhaled sharply, her mind racing. But this could change everything. What if Jake and Sarah can't accept it? What if it breaks us? Or Mary countered, what if it brings you closer? What if you can share this burden together? A flicker of hope appeared in Martha's heart, battling fiercely against despair. Could it be possible? Would sharing the truth allow them to heal? Or would it only deepen the wounds? Just then the sound of the door creaking open startled them both. Martha turned. Her heart in her throat. Was it Jake or Sarah? Mom? Jake called out, his voice echoing in the tense room. What's going on? We heard you left in a rush. Martha glanced at Mary, uncertainty spreading through her like wildfire. This was it. The moment of revelation hovered in the air, waiting impatiently to crash down around them like thunder. Should we tell them? Martha whispered, dread suddenly pulling her closer to despair. Mary nodded, giving Martha's hand a reassuring squeeze. If not now, when? But deep within, Martha felt a swell of panic. How could she possibly find the words to explain a past that felt like a different universe altogether? As Jake stepped into view, hesitation swirled in her mind, threatening to choke the words before they even reached her lips. Mom, what is happening? Jake's eyes were wide, concern lacing his voice. You look. Martha took a deep breath. This was a moment that could tear them apart or pull them together. Would her family survive the truth? In that moment of silence, nothing felt certain except for one undeniable truth. The past was here, knocking at the door, and it wouldn't be silenced any longer. Martha, how do we start this conversation? What do we even say? The question lingered, heavy and expectant. Would they finally step into the light of truth, or retreat back into darkness? Martha felt her heart racing as she prepared to unveil a history that could change everything. Martha swallowed hard, the weight of the moment anchoring her to the spot. She could see the confusion in Jake's eyes growing, spiraling into concern. Each heartbeat seemed to echo in the silence, filling the space with tension that felt electric. Jake, she finally managed, her voice shaking slightly. We found something. A box of letters, old family stuff. She glanced at Mary for support, but the weight of what she was about to say felt too heavy to share just yet. What letters? Jake's brow furrowed, the worry deepening. They're from your grandfather, Martha said, intentional in her choice of words. They reveal things about his life choices he made. Jake's expression shifted, something akin to dread replacing confusion. Choices? What do you mean? Before Martha could answer, Sarah appeared behind Jake, her presence a calm oasis in the storm of uncertainty. Mom, what's going on? She looked between the two women, sensing the gravity in the air. We were just discussing some family history, Martha said, opting for the vague approach. Jake stepped forward, his body tense. Mom, just tell us what's happening. We don't have time for games. The truth was an anchor dragging them all deeper, and Martha could feel it. She glanced back at Mary, who sat motionless, her eyes reflecting both encouragement and worry. Taking a deep breath, Martha steeled herself. It's about your grandfather's past. The letters talk about his marriage to your grandmother, but also about his life before that. She hesitated, gauging their reactions. Complicated? Jake interjected, his fists clenched. More than that, Martha murmured. Wasn't he the man you always thought he was? What do you mean? Sarah turned to her mom, a confused frown cresting her brow. Martha's stomach twisted. He left his first family without a word. There were love letters, regrets. He felt trapped. Each word fell like a heavy stone, rippling through the air. The room grew quiet as the truth seeped in like a shadow. Martha watched Jake's face drop, disbelief mingling with hurt. He left? Just like that? Mary spoke up, her voice steady but soft. He didn't mean to hurt anyone. It was a different time. People made choices they thought were best for their families. But is that what this is? Just more lies? Jake shook his head, his voice rising with emotion. All my life I thought he was this perfect hero. And now his anger flared. A fire fueled by betrayal. Maybe he wasn't perfect. Martha stepped closer, raising her hands in a plea for understanding. But this doesn't diminish the good he did either. We're family, we need to navigate this together. We owe it to him and ourselves to at least understand his side. Sarah took a tentative step forward, eyes wide, grappling with mounting emotions. This feels like a lot to take in. Why did we never hear about this? Why did it never come out? Because he buried it, hoping to protect you. Protect us all, Mary answered gently, her gaze focused on Jake. But hiding does more damage than the truth ever could. Tension hung in the room. They stood on the brink of something monumental. A family redefining itself in the face of harsh realities. Martha's heart raced, the fear of tearing them apart battling against the hope for healing. I just want us to be okay, Martha whispered, glancing at her children's faces, each reflecting a swirl of confusion and hurt. I want us to find a way through this together. Just then the faint ringing of a phone cut through the silence, breaking the moment. Martha's pulse quickened at the wrong time, but a sinking feeling washed over her when she recognized the ringtone. It was the number she had been avoiding, a number tied to yet another thread in this tangled web of family secrets. Mom, are you going to answer that? Jake asked, his tone sharp. She hesitated, her heart pounding. Would answering it reveal yet another hidden truth? Or could it lead to an even deeper rift? Maybe it's best to let it ring, Martha said, unsure if the past was truly done unveiling itself. But the call kept ringing, an urgent pulse against the backdrop of their lives, and she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was on the other end might hold answers they weren't ready for. Whose voice would spill more secrets? And more importantly, would they be about the man they lost? Or the future they all stood to gain? The phone continued to ring, each chime growing louder in Martha's ears. Her instincts told her to ignore it, to shield her family from whatever news awaited on the other end. But each ring was like a question mark, dangling set secrets just out of reach, waiting to be unraveled. Mom, please, Jake urged, frustration bleeding into his voice. What if it's important? What if it's about Grandpa? Martha's heart raced, torn between urgency and fear. I don't know, Jake, her voice trailed off as she felt the weight of the room pressing down on her. Sarah, still standing close, shifted uncomfortably, unable to decide if she wanted answers or simply a break from the chaos. Finally, with a deep breath that felt shaky, Martha reached for her phone. Her fingers hesitated over the screen, her pulse drumming in her ears. She glanced at Mary. Her friend's expression was one of cautious encouragement, a silent nudge toward whatever lay ahead. Okay, Martha said, steeling herself. I'll answer. The call clicked to life. Hello? She said, her voice wavering, echoing her uncertainty. The silence on the other end was heavy, making her stomach twist. It felt like an eternity before the voice responded. Martha. It's Lila. The familiarity in the voice sent a chill down her spine. Lila? Martha couldn't help the scorn that dripped into her whisper. Lila represented a part of her past, one she thought she'd left behind. A family connection that had always felt tenuous, complicated by old wounds. I know it's been a while, but I need to talk to you. It's about your father, Lila continued, her tone layered with urgency. There are things you don't know, things I never told you. In that instant, the room seemed to warp around Martha. Jake's brows furrowed in confusion while Sarah stood frozen beside him, a mere shadow of the childhood they had shared untainted by secrets. Now, Martha snapped, the tightness in her chest bursting forth like a dam. Now you want to pick up the phone and regurgitate your truths? After all this time? I didn't have a choice then. I thought I was protecting you, Lila said defensively, her words laced with regret. But everything's different now. Your father, he left something behind, something I thought was buried. You need to know. Martha's heart raced faster, every beat tainted with worry. What did he leave? What are you talking about? I can't say it over the phone. Can we meet? This is too important to discuss in bits and pieces, Lila pressed, her voice trembling slightly. Meet? Martha echoed in disbelief. After all these years? You think I would just drop everything to meet you? Please, Martha. It's about your grandfather too, Lila pleaded. The words hung heavily, a thread straining between truth and betrayal. The gravity of her father's past was already threatening to unravel the fabric of their family. Did she really want to tangle with more secrets? She wanted to refuse, to simply hang up and protect her children from everything crashing down. But the need to unravel these mysteries, to give her children answers, weighed heavily on her shoulders. Fine, she breathed, her resolve softening. Where? Martha jotted down the details Lila gave her, her mind racing with possibilities. When she hung up, the silence in the room screamed louder than any conversation they'd held moments before. Jake and Sarah looked on, their eyes wide with questions. What was that about, Mom? Sarah asked, her voice cracking slightly. Martha took a moment, gripping the counter to steady herself. It's about your grandfather and your father. Jake's expression darkened. What did she mean, left something behind? Martha hesitated, glancing at Mary. The truth was a tangled web, and she feared that every thread she pulled would expose even more scars. I don't know yet, but we might find out soon. The unspoken tension crackled in the air. The call had set off a chain reaction, and they were all standing at the edge, poised to either dive into the depths of their family legacy or pull back from the abyss altogether. Mom, do you think we'll regret learning more? Jake asked quietly, the weight of hope and dread mingling. Martha took a deep breath, her heart heavy with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Maybe. But I think we owe it to ourselves to at least try. We can't understand who we are without knowing where we came from. As they stood there, the phone buzzed, a new message snapping their attention back. Another connection getting ready to unveil whatever truth still lay shrouded within that box of letters. Would this revelation tear them apart further, or weave them closer together? They were at the brink of discovery, and the next step could change everything. What would they decide? Martha stood frozen, the weight of Lila's call still pressing heavily on her chest. Even as her thoughts churned and danced around the implications, part of her felt a strange sense of relief, as if fate was finally pushing her toward the answers she'd been too afraid to seek. The room was eerily quiet as Jake and Sarah exchanged glances, their faces a mix of concern and curiosity. Mom, Jake's voice sliced through the silence. Are you really going to meet her? Martha nodded slowly, feeling the gravity of her decision. Yes, I think I have to. But why now? Why this? Sarah's bewilderment reflected the confusion swirling within her. What can be so important about things left in the past? It's about our family, Martha replied, her voice barely more than a whisper. A flicker of fear crossed her mind at the thought of dragging them into all the pain. About things we deserve to know. Just then the phone buzzed in her hand again. With cautious hope, she glanced at the screen. Another message from Lila, or perhaps from someone else entirely. But it was just a notification, an alert that felt oddly misplaced among the tension that filled the room. The walls felt like they were closing in on her. She could feel the old wounds, years of silence cutting deeply into her heart, the unhealed irritations from her past. The very air seemed charged with questions that begged for answers, yet she feared what those answers might uncover. A few beats of silence passed before Jake spoke again. Mom, are you okay? You look pale. I'm okay, she said, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. It's just a lot. Mary shifted closer, her presence offering a sense of comfort. Whatever happens, we're here for you, Martha. We'll figure this out together. Martha's heart swelled with gratitude for her friend's unwavering support. Yet doubt nagged at her. What if there are things we can't handle? Life is never clean or simple, Mary replied softly. But avoiding it doesn't make it go away. You have to confront it. Jake ran his fingers through his hair, his frustration giving way to understanding. Mom, just tell us what you need. Martha took a deep breath, her mind racing through the possibilities of the meeting ahead. We'll go together. I want you both there. Right, but Sarah's voice lowered. What if it's worse than we think? Martha's heart sank at the thought. What if Lila revealed something that shattered the fragile bond they held? The fear of the unknown twisted in her stomach, but the alternative, remaining blinded by the shadows of family secrets, was no longer acceptable. Whatever we learn, we'll face it together, she said, years of motherly instinct urging her to unify them against whatever storm may come. With that affirmation hanging in the air, Martha felt a flicker of a plan forming. They would dig deep together no matter how painful. Mom, can you just promise us you won't get pulled into whatever Lila is trying to sell you? Jake voiced cautiously, his gaze steady. I promise, she said firmly. I'll keep my distance, but we need to unravel this. As night settled gently around their home, the atmosphere felt thick with anticipation. Each tick of the clock was like a countdown to their next life-altering step. Yet an unexpected wave of strength washed over her. Maybe Lila has changed, Martha thought, her heart warming slightly at the flicker of hope. Maybe there's healing in this. But as she looked into Jason and Sarah's eyes, she felt the weight still buried deep within her heart. That doubt, would Lila truly bring closure, or merely open old scars? Mom, Jake interjected, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. What if it's worse than we think? Martha shook herself from the doubt and forced a reassuring smile. Whatever is revealed, it's time we confront it. The family huddled closer, their unity grounding the uncertainty swirling in the air. Yet deep in her gut, Martha felt the looming potential of revelation. As the night wore on and preparedness settled within her, Martha suddenly wondered, what if Lila held the key not just to her father's past, but to their future as a family too? The emotional tempest ahead promised to be fierce, but together they'd be prepared to face whatever awaited them. Would they emerge stronger? Or would this unravel everything they'd built? The thought gripped her tightly, leaving her on the verge of anticipation for the door to a world long untouched. What lay ahead could forever change them all. The morning sun broke through the curtains, bathing Martha's kitchen in a golden glow. She stood by the window, heart racing, nerves tingling with the weight of the day ahead. Today would either bring them healing or rattle the fragile foundation of their family. Jake and Sarah joined her, both looking equally anxious. The air was thick with unspoken worries. Are you ready? Sarah finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if anyone can ever be ready for this, Martha replied, looking from her children to the door as if it were a portal to another world. But we have to try. Together they climbed into the car. The drive felt surreal, the hum of the engine almost drowned out their thoughts. Memories of laughter, joy, and love flowed through Martha's mind, overshadowed by fears of betrayal and loss. What if Lila revealed something they couldn't bear? What if the truth tore them apart? Arriving at Lila's place felt like stepping into the past. The house was too familiar yet foreign. As they entered, the tension thickened like fog. Lila was standing in the corner, her expression a mixture of apprehension and resolve. Thank you for coming, Lila said, her voice trembling slightly. I know it's been a long time. Let us just get to it, Jake interrupted, his tone sharp with urgency. Martha watched as Lila took a deep breath, steeling herself. Your father left a journal, she began, gesturing to a worn box on the table. He documented everything. His challenges, his loves, everything. Martha's heart sank as she opened the box. There it was, a collection of memories spilling out like treasures waiting to be unearthed. She hesitated, tears pooling in her eyes. Do you believe he wanted us to find this? Absolutely, Lila replied. He came to terms with his past before he passed. You deserve to know. With trembling hands, Martha reached for the journal, its leather cover worn but solid. Let us read it together, she suggested, glancing at Jake and Sarah, who were silently absorbing everything. As they started reading, passages filled the room with stories of love, heartache, and redemption. Her father's ink-stained confessions intertwined with warmth that enveloped them, a tapestry of their family's hidden history slowly coming to life. I loved your grandmother deeply, one extract read. But I was suffocating under expectations and the weight of duty. I left for a chance at freedom, but it came at an unforgivable cost. Tears streamed down Martha's face as she recognized the pain etched in each sentence. He was flawed but human, a man grappling with choices that were never easy. We didn't know, she managed through her sobs. We could have helped him. Mom, he was lost, Jake said softly, placing a hand on hers. Just like we are now. Lila stepped closer, her heartache mingling with compassion. We can either carry the burdens or let them go. You have the power to decide. With every word they shared, Martha felt the family begin to shift around her. The stories uniting them, revealing textures of their past, old flaws turning into compassion and understanding. What if their wounds could heal instead of widening? Maybe we can reach out to those siblings he left behind, Sarah proposed quietly, and start a new chapter. Martha's heart swelled as she nodded. Yes, let us embrace this with open arms. Share the love our father had for us. Whatever the price, together as a family. Lila smiled softly, relief spilling into the room along with the light. As they wrapped up, something shifted in the air. The weight of untold truths suddenly felt lighter. Tears that had fallen began transforming into laughter, blending with ripples of hope filtering throughout the room. Martha gathered her children to her. Their family bond rekindled in the warmth of a long-lost connection. "We're stronger than the secrets," she declared, each heartbeat echoing the strength of their unity. "We'll make our own legacy filled with love, made even richer for understanding." The journey ahead would be complex, but together they would navigate the peaks and valleys. "This is just the beginning," Martha vowed, looking into Jake and Sarah's eyes, feeling stones being lifted from her heart. Hand in hand, they stepped outside into the brilliant sunlight, ready to embrace life beyond the shadows. Their laughter mingled, echoing across the yard. A new chapter awaited them, unshackled from the burdens of the past, and infused with the promise of love and transformation. This was the new beginning, forged in truth and understanding, one that would guide them on their way, leaving behind only the ghosts of yesterday. Now let us keep this transformation alive. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive stories like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your support is what makes this journey possible.